Is Juan Soto the key to unleashing the polar bear? Our New York Post sports writer and reporter Jared Schwartz is on assignment at Met spring training, and he's on to talk about Pete Alonso and the Mets bats. Jared, what's going on, man? I see you rubbing it in our faces that you got the cool assignment down there in Port St. Lucie.
How are you, Brandon? It's warm, it's sunny, it's I got palm trees in the back. It beats the cold weather in New York, that's for sure.
All right, speaking of cold, 6 years with the Mets, the polar bear, Pete Alonso, has pretty much batted cleanup. He's hit third behind Juan Soto in his three Grapefruit League games this spring. First and foremost, how has he looked? And secondly, what has he said about hitting behind Soto so far?
Yeah, Brandon, I spoke to him yesterday in the clubhouse. He likes it. Look, I think anybody would like hitting behind Juan Soto. He's had three at bats this spring hitting behind Juan, two doubles and an RBI. So it's a pretty good start. But Pete also pushed back on that it would change a lot for him, and just saying that no matter where I'm at in the lineup, pitchers are going to tiptoe around me. They're going to tiptoe around Juan, and they're going to tiptoe around me. I think that's a little bit ego talking. I don't think he wants to give all the credit to Juan and saying that he's going to change everything for himself. But look, a lot of guys have thrived hitting behind Juan Soto. Manager Carlos Mendoza said he likes Pete there, at the three spot. He likes the power behind Soto as more of a complete hitter. He likes the righty lefty, versatility. So it seems like he's leaning that way and hitting Pete, at the three spot. If you look at his career, he's worse at the three spot than the four spot, but he's also never hit behind someone at the stature of Juan Soto. So we'll see, but it seems like that's the way the Mets are leaning so far.
Yeah, and all respect to Pete Alonso, when in terms of the comment where they may pitch around him. I mean, he's coming off his career worst season last season. On the flip side of it, Aaron Judge had one of his best seasons in 2024 hitting after Soto. What makes this dude Juan Soto such a great guy, a great player to hit behind?
Yeah, Aaron Judge has had a lot of good years, none better, at least in terms of OPS and RBIs, than last year hitting behind Juan Soto. I think it really comes down to Juan Soto is just such a disciplined hitter. He doesn't give anything away. He doesn't swing at a lot of bad pitches. He works the count. He's often at the top of the league and walks an on base percentage, and that wears down pitchers. You have these long battling at bats with Juan Soto. It wears them down for the guy coming behind. He's a guy that doesn't strike out. He gets on base a lot, and that provides the guy behind him a lot of opportunities to drive guys in. Um, he's just he's so disciplined. He's so tough on opposing pitchers that when they get to the next guy, they're already worn down. And look, he's such a good hitter that Alonso might not think it, but guys are going to try to pitch around Soto to get to the guy behind him. Especially if the guy behind him is struggling or not holding his part.
So we take Aaron Judge's numbers, we take a great hitter, a disciplined hitter of a Juan Soto. Now we insert Pete Alonso. Would you say there's now pressure on Pete hitting behind Soto? And let's say he can't get it done. Let's say he struggles early. Where or who does Carlos Mendoza go to get some sort of production?
Absolutely, it adds pressure to Pete. They have to have someone there that can protect Juan Soto and will force opposing pitchers not just to avoid Soto to get to whoever's behind him. And last year's showing from Pete won't cut it. He's got to be good enough and dangerous enough and menacing enough to force pitchers to not just avoid Soto and almost pick their poison, if you will. And if he and Mendoza mentioned it yesterday, because if he doesn't, they have options. They have Mark Vientos, who had a breakout season last year. They have Francisco Alvarez, their stud young catcher who's been inconsistent but has shown a lot of power when he can get hold of the ball. Mendoza seems to like the righty after the lefty Soto, so he probably won't be hitting Brandon Nimmo in that spot. But surely Vientos and Alvarez are options, and look, if Pete doesn't hold his weight hitting behind Soto, they'll figure out a different way because they've invested so much in Soto. They have to make sure they're maximizing what he's able to do in that line.
Yeah, pressure is a privilege when it comes to guys like Pete Alonso. You looked at the pressure that he was facing going into the playoffs last year, and he had himself. I mean, I guess that's the reason why the Mets even signed him back, because he was able to show up when it really mattered. But overall, let's talk the overall lineup, because Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea are out for some time with injuries. And Jared, as you know, the pitching was already a question mark coming into spring training. Do the Mets have enough bats in the lineup to overcome any early struggles when it comes to pitching?
They better. They better. That's where they've invested their most money. And like you said, the rotation was the biggest question mark coming into the year, and it's only become more of a question mark with Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas's injury. And look, this rotation right now, there's three locks: Kodai Senga, David Peterson, and Clay Holmes.
Yeah.
And Clay Holmes himself is transitioning from a closer to a starter. Kodai Senga pitched all of 10 and a third innings last year. And David Peterson has, been inconsistent in his major league career. So even those three guys are question marks. You look at the lineup on paper, it should be menacing. Lindor, Alonso, Soto, Nimmo, Alvarez, Vientos, even McNeil. It should be menacing. But then when you also break it down, Lindor started last year pretty rough before he moved to that leadoff spot and really took off towards his, MVP candidate caliber season. Vientos has really just 1 year of top level production on his resume. Nimmo regressed last year from what we've been used to. As you said before, Pete had the worst year of his career last year. So yes, on paper, it's a menacing lineup, but we know the games aren't played on paper; it's played on the field. So yeah, they've invested a lot of money in this lineup. They've got a lot of dollars going to Lindor and Soto and now Pete, and Nimmo, but they got to show it. Nimmo is actually in the lineup today for his first time in spring training. He was dealing with a foot injury, so that'll be good to see. How he fares in his first game.
It's looking like there's going to be a lot of 9-8 type wins for the Mets early in the season. All right, Jared, enjoy Port St. Lucie. Don't come back darker than me, bro.
Yeah, I've been using that sunscreen liberally. Don't worry.
All right, man. Thank you.